This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
The final score from the racecourse: Wrexham 0, Leyton Orient 2 in the big top-of-the-table clash, ending with victory for the side that came into this as the sides who were the league leaders. It's just occurred to me before the match, I was having watched Orient's last couple of games, I had a gut feeling it was going to be 2-0 to them, and I'd forgotten all about that, and I'm now realising I should have put some money on it. Wrexham will be hugely, hugely frustrated with that. They matched Orient in terms of play, and with 85 minutes gone, it was goalless. But once again, Wrexham with good approach play, but a lack of threat in the box. Once again, like last Saturday, did carve out a couple of very good opportunities which weren't taken, and this time against a quality side, they were punished. Wrexham started with terrific energy and good pace, but maybe, with hindsight, the first 10 minutes of the match were a metaphor for what was to come, because Wrexham, very impressive, on the front foot, pressuring Orient, especially when Pike, attacking diagonals, exposed the right-back Judd, but didn't create any chances, whereas Orient in the first 10 minutes did make an opportunity. McAnuff with a free kick, which he floated in towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and the big centre-back Ekpateta getting up, trying to nod it down, putting it just wide of the right-hand post. And in fact, the second chance of the match also went to Orient. A terrific free kick from 25 yards out by McAnuff, lifting it over the wall and putting it just wide of the left post. By then, the nature of the game had changed a bit. Wrexham's early energy and pace had worn down, and Orient was starting to put pressure on their midfield, starting to get a bit of a toehold, and the two strikers were doing well holding the ball up and bringing play higher up the pitch. But Wrexham responded well, got their rhythm back and started to move around the ball around well. Brad Walker was particularly impressive in terms of breaking things up in front of the Wrexham defence, and halfway through the first half, he, with a moment of inspiration, carved out Wrexham's first glorious opportunity. A free kick given in midfield. Summerfield stood on it looking for movement. Walker, standing way behind him, saw something Summerfield hadn't, sprinted up and dinked the ball forwards down the right channel. Pike timed his run to perfection and was one-on-one with the keeper, but Dean Brill came out, didn't commit himself, stood up, and Pike drilled the ball too straight, Brill getting in the block. Wrexham continued to maintain the pressure though and finished a half strongly and had one more opportunity, an excellent move. Rutherford, whose movement was very good, creating space. The ball went out to the right hand side to Roberts. He swung it across to the far post. Pike got up high, nodded the ball down, and Bevan, back to goal 6 yards out, turned and hit a shot, but his marker Coulson stuck to him and got in the block. When the ball spun back out, Roberts studded another cross to the far post, and Pike got ahead of his man Judd, but didn't make contact with the header. Maybe he ought to have done. That was maybe, to be honest, how the game was panning out for Wrexham. Like I said, promising approach play, but no real clear-cut chances apart from the odd one, and not much punch in the box. Second half started slowly, but soon Wrexham got themselves into a rhythm and found themselves dominating possession. But Orient's two banks of four stood firm, and there was an awful lot of play confined in midfield as Wrexham moved the ball around, with Summerfield and Young looking inventive, Rutherford's movement continuing to be lively, Bevan scrapping away to compete with the centre-backs, but them struggling to really carve out too many opportunities. One good spell of pressure ended with Roberts dinking the ball in nicely towards the far post. Walker lunging, diving, attacking it, made contact with it and at the far post and sent in a looping header over Dean Brill, which drifted beyond the right-hand post. It must be said, I think Brill would have had enough time to come back and cover it had it landed on target. And then 2 minutes later came Wrexham's second gilt-edged opportunity. A corner, left-hand side. Summerfield swung it in. An awful lot of previous set pieces for Wrexham had ended in free kicks. There was a lot of shirt pulling in the box. On this occasion, Pearson lost his man and found himself running all alone into the heart of the box. He met it on the edge of the 6-yard box, central. A glorious opportunity, met it with power, but put it straight at the keeper, and Brill again saved with his feet. A real gilt-edged opportunity for the home team. Brophy came on the right-hand side for Orient and immediately was looking lively, drifting inside, trying to link up play. A clever wide midfielder who was able to come narrow and had a good range of passing. He spread the ball out to Judd. Judd sweeping a nasty ball into the 6-yard box where the centre-forward Corona got between the two Wrexham central defenders and managed to deflect it somehow on target. Leyton, covering to his right, did well to clutch the ball to his chest. And then moments later, another incident in the Wrexham half. Some penalty, I beg your pardon. The corner swung in by beg your pardon, McAnuff to the far post, nodded down. Ekpiteta turned, his shot was blocked, and when the referee finally stopped play after a long-range shot had gone wide, he had to deal with the protest of an incandescent Leyton as well as Pearson. Leyton clearly claiming it had been stamped on as the ball was coming in. One to look at on the replays, that I think, but obviously the referee didn't see it, wasn't able to take action. Wrexham, with 9 minutes left, made a double substitution, a rather interesting one as well. Mike Fondop coming on in attack, replacing Stuart Bevan, which is slightly surprising. Bevan had shown very good energy. And on the left-hand side, Rutherford taken off and James Jennings brought on in the front three. An unorthodox move, which nearly bore fruit with 9 minutes left. Fondop battling away, doing really well to win the ball in midfield and spread to the right-hand side. Young stood in a good cross to the far post. Jennings got inside his man, attacked it and met it with a header. But again, too close to the keeper, who saved fairly comfortably. And Wrexham would pay for not creating more chances when they were on top and not taking those good opportunities when Orient struck twice in the last 5 minutes to clinch victory. In the 85th minute, a corner about to be taken by McAnuff. The ex-Chester striker, George Allaby, comes on as a substitute, trots into the box. Whether Wrexham's concentration just was lost for a moment because of the delay, who knows, but the corner was swung in. Ekpiteta got it well, nodded the ball down, and there was Macaulay Bonne on the corner of the 6-yard box to pivot and smash an excellent finish into the roof of the net. And to be honest, it looked like Wrexham's head went a little bit then, and Orient certainly were cock-a-hoop. 2 minutes later, Corona picked up on the left-hand side and went on a superb, mazy run down the flank, cutting inside and then ripping a fine right-footed shot. Leyton lunged for it, but had no chance. The ball slamming against the right post and bouncing away to safety. But Wrexham was struggling to pull themselves back into it. By this point, Maguire Drew was on as well for Pike as a complete overhaul of the front three, but Wrexham weren't getting the ball to them in all honesty, and they were picked off again in the last minute. This time, no, a horrible defensive moment, a ball knocked over the top. Lawler wanting to head the ball backwards, didn't get enough power on his first header, so he made contact again, trying to nod it back to Leyton. Again, an underpowered header. Leyton had to come out of the box to just beat Allaby to it and head it away, but he headed it only as far as Brophy, 30 yards out on the right flank, and real quality finish by the substitute who brought it down, kept his head, lifted it over the stranded keeper and into the net. You couldn't blame Leyton for it, in all honesty. He was sold short by Lawler's back header, and the game was dead. Absolutely crazed celebrations in front of the dugout from the Orient players and bench, and quite understandably they'd absorbed the pressure and struck decisively late on. There was one final spasm of resistance from Wrexham in the last minute of added time. Maguire Drew cutting in from the right hand side and trying to hit the far top corner with a curling shot which went just off target, but by then it would have just been a consolation and would have been somewhat against the run of play. Wrexham battling and showing good quality in midfield and decent composure on the ball for the first 85. But once again, not making the chances when the periods when they were on top of the game. Orient soaked it up, hit them on the counter, and Wrexham can have roaring complaints that they have lost further ground to the league leaders. For further analysis, have a listen to what myself, James Harrison and Lee Milford thought of the game post-match on Calon FM.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
So, a sting in the tail of this top of the table match. The final score, Wrexham 0, Leyton Orient 2. And I hate to be the party pooper, but I'm going to argue the better team won there, because Wrexham had a lot more of the ball, a lot more possession and a lot more pressure. Didn't make chances. 2 opportunities, a one-on-one with the keeper and a free header 6 yards out from a corner. Hit them straight at the keeper. Orient didn't make mistakes at the back. Made 2 chances, nailed them both. I would say that means he deserved the win, to be honestly.
Yep, you make a fair point. It's disappointing when you come and play these types of teams. You really got to take your chances, and Wrexham don't make too many. You know, there was a couple of headers in that second half and a one-on-one with Pike in the first, and that was it. You know, it's so frustrating, but yeah, you make a good point. They stuck in the game. They didn't make any mistakes. We did, and that's what's cost us today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about you later on, Lee, when you make your man of the match choice. I mean, there were lots of performances up to the 80th minute where you're thinking, yeah, lots of good performances, and they were good performances. But the fact is, we've got to when we get on top of games, we've got to create and put away chances.
We've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it all season. You come up against your Barnetts and I'm trying to think of the teams we played, Havant and Waterlooville at the start, and where we've won them 1-0 and we've got that goal. But it was always the case of when we come up against a promotion team, we can't do that. It's not going to work. They're going to punish us. We didn't get that goal. We didn't go that 1-0 up like we could have. They had their couple of chances. They took them, and it's frustrating evening for sure.
Well, absolutely. Teams who at the start of the day were in the top 7. We've played 5 games against them now, drawn 2, lost 3. In fact, at home, all of last season, the only team that finished in the top 7 that we beat was Ebbsfleet, and that was when 1 goal didn't go in, the other one was a penalty. And there is a bit of a historic issue here, I think, James, that we're really not getting wins against the sides up at the top ends of the table, are we?
No, we're not. I mean, I'm going to slightly disagree with what your opening statement. I thought Wrexham played well for the 80 minutes and we're the better team. But yeah, on reflection, that Leyton Orient didn't make mistakes, and it's a 90-minute game. So I'm not going to get too disheartened. The glaring fact is we don't have a clinical striker. It's something that wasn't addressed last season, hasn't been addressed so far in this season, and needs to be in January if we're going to continue to challenge at the top of this league. Because last year we had the defence and we need to sort everything out. This year we've sorted the midfield out and we're just missing the right blend up front. But yeah, overall Leyton Orient have done exactly a classic away job. They've played well, they've not made mistakes, and they've taken their chances. So on balance of play, I still think Wrexham are the better team, but yeah, they don't not deserve their 3 points, I suppose. It was just annoying how the first goal comes and then they took off then and created far more chances as Wrexham under pressure. But what was your question?
Well, my argument, it makes me sad to say this, but I horribly feel I'm right. This is a 6th game in a row for me now where I feel that we've put in maybe a half performance, or a performance where we failed to score goals when we've been on top of it. I mean, the Chesterfield game, we should have put that game to bed and we've let a goal in late on. Hartlepool, we win 1-0, but after dominating the first half and only getting the 1 the second half, we're hanging on against a 10-man team that hadn't looked all that good. I think I was in the minority of maybe one at the Gateshead game being disappointed with a 3-1 win, but we got an own goal. We were lucky with the way the goals went in a bad marked job and then a deflected goal, and we didn't make, I felt, many chances in a game which we did look good in. So Weston-super-Mare, okay, we won it, but we didn't make chances. We won it because we were playing a side near the bottom of the division below us, and ultimately they will crack. And then Maidstone last week, first half, dominated it, superb in the first half, delighted with that, but didn't score in that first half, deflected long-range shot, otherwise we'd have lost it. And I think, again, here, I totally accept on balance of play, first 80, we looked better, but we didn't make chances, except for those 2. We didn't take them, and this felt like, free. You can argue the case if you want. So Jennings' chance? Oh, that was
open header.
Well, I mean, he's marked, he's headed it too close to the keeper. But again, we're lobbing the left back on as a left winger. Well, like I say, is it good enough? If we're that good, we've made 3 chances in a whole match. Didn't look like taking them. Then they make chances and they take them, and that's my issue. We're all right. We're decent. We're up the top end of this league, definitely. There's something a little bit missing though at the moment.
Yeah, I can't argue with anything you just said in terms of those matches you've just gone back to. But I'll go back to my point. We don't have the strike force that creates the chances. You put a strike force in that team, we will be up there challenging without a doubt. So that I'm not going to get too disheartened with the way we're playing. Do we create enough chances? We create a lot more than we used to in last season. But yeah, we're just not clinical and we're not cutting edge. And that's that front 3. It's not been settled all season, because every week that's where the rotation is. The defence is pretty much settled. The midfield is now pretty much, apart from the Akil Wright, Brad Walker argument, that's about settled. It's that front 3. You can't find a front 3 that gel, create chances regularly, and can score. We don't have it. And if we'd had that if we'd had like a Matt Reed or a Andy Cook focal point in those last 6 games, those 6 games are all won, all put to bed. easily. So yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? Because there's arguments for both cases, but we've played good football for 80 minutes. It's been entertaining to watch two decent teams, two teams that deserve to possibly, well, can't say deserve, they're both here for a reason, but our league teams with fan base, with stadium, all that sort of stuff, and it just whets the appetite to be this close and want to get back to that stage on a regular basis, and we are close.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a case now this week of picking them up again, because another huge match to come on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, another huge game. I think we've got a game on Tuesday as well.
Oh God, you forgot about that. Yeah, sorry,
so a game pretty soon to come around and bounce back from that. But I get your point about only 3 shots in this game, but this is a good Leyton Orient team.
Oh yeah,
three key chances against a team like this is, not many teams might make them opportunities. But it's the word is clinical. They were, we weren't. We didn't make the most of the opportunities, and I think we're all a bit frustrated here tonight.
Yeah, well, it was certainly a shame, and as you say, that is exactly my point. This is a good Orient team, and so they absorb that pressure and they strike when we give them the opportunity. Man of the match, Lee. It's like I said, despite the disappointment late on, there were a lot of decent performances, I thought.
There were. I'd say Brad Walker for me. I think I can't think of too many that I'd say were standout for Wrexham today. I think Brad Walker made some good interceptions and tackles in there. Away from that, I can't really say anyone really stood out massively for me. Bevan was good when he was on. He put himself about. Pike troubled in the first half, but away from that, I can't really see too many standout players today.
Yeah, I was slightly surprised Bevan was taken off when he was. I thought he was putting himself about rather well, and might have been worth a little bit more persistence, to be honest. Yeah,
maybe that's where we went wrong in the front three. I mean, taking all 3 off and not doing anything else to the other team. Maybe we can look back at that as being, I'm saying that, whether we'd have scored a goal with any of the front 6 that we could have possibly had on, I don't think we would have.
Yeah, but it was it was an interesting one, that, wasn't it, really? And Wrexham also, of course, now beaten at home for the first time this season, James, which in itself is a source of frustration, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you go back to that record that you quite rightly brought up about teams in the top 7 and us not doing it. It's going to cost us. It cost us last year. It's going to cost us again this year if we don't put that right. It's testament to Sam's team that it's the first home game we've lost. We need to make sure that we get back to this place being a fortress, and it's just a blip. But we need to do that on Tuesday, as Lee said, get back into it. We've got a free week next week in terms of it's a cup game. It's against higher opposition. Yes, there's a bit of spice to it with it being Newport County, but if we don't win that, it's not costing us in the league. So we've just got to make sure we go and get a result at Barrow now to keep us in the mix and keep us ready for going into January.
Yeah, we remain 3rd now, Lee, but 4 points off the top. Tricky game to Barrow, but maybe that's what they need to bounce back from this.
Yeah, the quick game, they'll all be disappointed as much as we are. So a game on Tuesday night, they don't have to dwell on it for a week before the big cup game. They've just got game on Tuesday night to put things right.
Yeah, absolutely right. So frustration for Wrexham, though. Unbeaten, the home record is gone against the league leaders who were clinical in front of goal.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.